She says, it's when we impose suffering everywhere. So we don't care, we come, we're the boss, and we say, you have to do this. No. And I know stories and after stories of bosses, even in the United States, who really abuse their power, subjecting people to overwork, or they really bully their employees, or they're sarcastic, etc., etc. They think, oh well. And that's what we're talking about. When you read Emmanuel's books, you see that pattern there. But the Christ comes, says Joana de Angelis, to propose a new behavior. A behavior, she says, that is based on the fulfillment of our duties before God, disciplining ourselves, but all of it under the umbrella of love. It's new. And that's why reading the books, we can be coached. Because you're going to read from 2,000 years ago by Emmanuel, that book. 50 years later, I'm giving the names of the titles of the book, because these are true stories that were told in the format of a novel. But the reason why they were written is because inside of them, Emmanuel highlights some people as models in that Christ consciousness. Like in Paul and Stephen, we have a man who is very sweet, Stephen. He sees his father coming after being slapped and beaten up by the Roman guards. Imagine your father coming, and you were like, we have to do something. We're going to avenge. And he says, Dad, let us read the scripture and see what God brings to us. Because if we're going through this, the scriptures tell us there is a reason. He was already in a new pattern. One that we don't know yet. And then he goes there, reads, it confirms. Then he's later enslaved. I'm just skipping chapters as teasers. It's one of the most beautiful stories. Usually we read the book Paul and Stephen looking at Paul and his journey. But we forgot that the book is Paul and Stephen. And Stephen is the new man, the new human being that is proposed by Christ. And he comes with his sweetness and his strength. As a slave, he's mistreated. But he tells the other slaves, let's not be rebellious. Let's do our best, because if God is bringing us here, there is a reason. And that attitude, without noticing, becomes his saving grace. Because then a powerful Roman who is in the ship gets sick and asks for the kindest slave to care for him. He was the chosen one. And because his behavior was optimal, at some point, I'm skipping some lines, he's released, he's freed. And the rest is a story that is unprecedented. But reading that book, Stephen teaches us this new pattern. He's dutiful, he's disciplined, he's strong, but his love is immense. To the point that when he is being stoned to death because he's following the Christ, he's the first Christian martyr. When Saul of Tarsus is ordering his stoning, he's capable of being so compassionate that he turns to his sister Abigail and says, don't worry, Abigail. our Master Jesus is awaiting for his change of heart. Can you imagine? You're hurt brutally, and yet you have compassion. It's a difficult passage to read, but there is a reason why. Because the high spirits don't bring the drama for the drama. They don't need to make Hollywood movies, blockbusters. They give us the graphic description so we can feel the scripture and say, man, is that possible to be like this one day? Answer, one day we will be able to be. It's probably a crazy proposal. And Emmanuel talks about it in this book, Living Spring, the word of the cross, saying, for many, it's a crazy proposal. But when we understand the depth, it's a new behavior that they are asking. When everybody's casting stones, saying, that person made a mistake, we're like, how can I cast a stone? Right? I cannot. Oh, but I've never done that in my life. You haven't done this. But are you clean the whole life? Never done any mistake whatsoever? We're not talking about levels of mistake. So it's a new behavior. And then she says, nowadays, the main issues we have, and this is Joana de Angelis writing to us in the 80s. Okay? Through Divaldo Franco, she says, nowadays, we have, she uses the word disgusting social behavior, the bullying that we see across the board. It's not only in the schools, it's at work, in the streets, at home, the worst at home. When you say something, people laugh at you, they look down on you, or they undermine you. That happens in families. Of course, it's going to be projected into our other areas of our society. Saying bad words. There are people who say bad words, they curse at home, all the way through. People saying, oh my gosh, how do I teach my children otherwise if XYZ people in my home are using those bad words? It's a good point. I don't know. There's no miracle. There's no erase button. But you can talk and say, you know, we can choose. And people don't know what they are doing. That's Jesus' answer. Often we don't know. Often we don't know. Indifference. People who dare to tell us and try to prove a point that the homeless don't need help. Discarnate spirits come to the mediumistic meeting, right? Trying to discourage us from helping the homeless. And that's how homelessness happens, because of people's indifference. At home, that's where the problems begin. Misery, not only physical but moral misery. People who are married, dreaming of other people. I'm sorry, but we need to take care of it. Because in the Gospel according to Spiritism, it says adultery by thought. Spiritism doesn't prohibit anything, but it explains. And it tells us, oh, but I didn't mean it. I just dreamt of this person. It's okay, but what are you going to do next? You're going to feed on it? Or you're going to say, oh my gosh, why is this happening? That person is married, or I am married. I have a commitment, and no going there. It's Mosaic law. Not to be wishing things of others or the companions of others. It's since Moses. And we're still in that pattern. And of course, when we are in that level, at that level, we open the doors of our homes to many entities that are not happy. And they start feeding those illusions. And then the rest of the story is sad. Because from diseases of the physical, of the mind, and the illnesses of the family, and then the families that are apart because of our lack of inner discipline, moral misery, there is no boundary. What kinds of spirits do we attract when we do XYZ behavior? So we need to think and tell our children, when we put a plate on there in front of them and we offer some food, and they're like, okay. So let us think. What kind of spirit will be eating with us if we're disgusted by food? Not appreciative, not grateful. And then we get sick because we don't have goodwill even to receive the food that was made for us. And then of course we talk about Africa. It's very common, right? We say, remember the children in Africa, they don't have anything. Classic. But before we go there, there is that thing about law of attraction. I mean, what are we attracting if we have that behavior? The good spirits will be with us at our meal, at our dinner table, blessing it. If we have goodwill, if we are disgusted by it, aversive, pushing it away, we are not receiving the nourishment of the food for adults and children. So Joanna de Angelis reminds us that the new pattern of behavior, this love that embraces duty and discipline, inevitably is going to be boosted in us through the discernment that happens through the processing of the neocortex. Let me show here the neocortex. The cortex, this front part, right here. If you see in animals, if you see the brain of a rat, it's flat. Humans, it's very complex, especially this, it's very human part of the brain, very complex, the most complex of all. Because we have free will, we have consciousness, and that means we become responsible for what we do. So putting mindfulness into action. I'm going to do this. Why? Is this to be done or not? I needed to put mind over matter, to stop reacting instead, and then we act. That's why she says Christmas in action. We will only take action when we stop being reactive, because animals react and it's beautiful, but the reactivity in humans is no longer beautiful. What is beautiful? When people know how to take action. That's Christ's proposal. Stop. Discipline yourself with love. But that person is so mean to me. Are you going to give up on that person? I will. Okay, that's a natural defense system. That person is bothering me. But then what are we going to do next? We're going to keep feeding it, or say, I'm going to pray that God helps us to be at peace, because we're destined to love one another. I say, I will respect the limits, the boundaries, but inside of me, I will visualize the good. The day we're well together, even if it takes 1,000,000 years. I will visualize the good. That's why Emmanuel says, if you want to be free from the past conditionings, that's why in our t-shirt, we chose part of the sentence, which is longer than this. He says, seek the good, feel the good, visualize the good, and mold the good. That's the only way for every situation in life, in our families, at work, in society. Feel the good, meaning you and I are children of God. I respect that right now we cannot be under the same roof. We cannot be working together, or it's okay. But I seek the good, already visualizing the day we'll be able to sit down and enjoy each other's presence in new terms. Not in those same roles as husband and wife, as brother and sister, or as friends, or employee and boss. In new terms, just as children of God, will be together, working, and then I'll do inside of me everything I can to make it happen sooner than later, but not imposing anything on others, because that's forceful. Respecting, but visualizing. Who did this? Peter. Read the book, Paul and Stephen. Peter, the apostle. If you read the book, you're going to see that one day, when Saul of Tarsus, after walking the road of Damascus, when he realizes his life and his mistake of persecuting the followers of the Christ, he decides to go to the desert, and he meets friends who are Christians. They don't know who he is. He doesn't say anything not to disturb them. But at some point, they are talking about the persecutor. Everybody's afraid of him. And they say, you know, Peter always encouraged us to pray for him, asking us to visualize the day he would change his heart and work for Jesus. And it happened. So what Peter did was something we need to do in our daily lives. Visualizing that reconciliation, that peace, that harmony in our relationships, even if it seems distant, but taking every single advantage of circumstances to really mold it and accommodate. Being a co-creator, we're not passive. Nobody told us when we were born in this life that you're not supposed to wait for life to tell you what to do, but you're supposed to tell life what's going to happen. Thought and Life by Emmanuel. We dictate because we're co-creators. And we work for it. But Vanessa, what if it doesn't happen? I'll be frustrated, so I allow life to tell me. Then you'll be surprised. Because life is going to respond to your unconscious. And that's the danger. We don't recall. As Freud said, 90% of what we are is hidden. But it's attracting. It's in our body language. It's in our decisions, unconscious decisions. And then people ask, why did you do this? Oh, did I do something wrong? I didn't know. Yeah, but you don't know you. But it's you. Oh, who am I? So I better make a choice, consciously speaking. Then, other than waiting, saying, I don't know. I don't want to make a choice. But life still will present to us what we have been emitting. Andre Luiz names it law of the mental field. We attract what we emit. You want to tease people in their envy? Be ready. Put a shield. In American society, we have some habits that are sick. And I know this since I lived in Baltimore. That's when I learned from it. It's like you have a new car and you want to show it to everybody. Now we have Facebook, people show. You think really people are going to be cheering for you because you got a new car? Of course not. They want a new car for them. But Vanessa, my friends, yeah, read the book 2,000 years ago. The closest ones are the ones who want your stuff. Am I saying this so we need to be open to everybody. But not open to show the temporary things that God is giving to us, because at any moment it shifts. I remember when I got a house in Baltimore, and my friends at work asked, are you going to do housewarming? I said, what is housewarming? I'm like, oh, you show your house to me. I'm going to show my house to everybody. Why? And then the chief of the department actually built a beautiful house, but, I understand. And then he showed to everybody. And the next moment in his life, he almost lost his job, because he entered a deep crisis of alcoholism. And we wonder why. You tease the forces of darkness, they come. Don't tease the evil in people, the ignorance, because it's stronger on earth. So what do? We hide? No. Just keep it for yourself. Our guiding model never showed off what he had. And he could have said, look, a map, the earth. And you're like, what is this? Oh, the earth is round. They didn't know many things, right, back then. Oh, really? It's not like the sun around the earth. And oh, no, they wouldn't say it. So he didn't say. He kept it to himself. And we should do the same. And then people get engaged. And they're like, oh, I don't even know how the names of the things, of the stones. And they're like, oh, it's very childish in us. And then years later, where are we? No longer together. Why are we teasing the forces of darkness? They exist. You want to tease people's envy? Be prepared, because it's going to come. Keep it to yourself. Show the good, how much you care for them. Instead of saying, I'm going to come to my house and see what I have, which is temporary, because at any moment we can lose everything. Look at the homeless. We can say, how can I help you? How can I spend time with you and be supportive of your life? Even if it is sitting together, drinking tea together, but really meaning deeply about being together in this journey. So that's the new behavior. discernment tells us. When we know people, we want to help one another. We don't want to tease the worst in people. We want to push the best in people. Really believing that we're children of God and we are divine. So we don't need to go there. Like a new baby. It's so important for people to know that a new baby is born. We cannot. There are people who think it's a trophy of maturity. And now with Facebook, it's like 10,000 pictures. I mean, one thing is to tell the baby's born, is healthy, okay. Fair. The other is to daily. What is this? And then it's like children become trophies for us. And now there's a competition. You have one, it's not enough. You need to have two to really prove a point. Yeah, that you're really good, that you can really manage it all in the competition. No, I tell you, as a psychologist, I hear many things, and I say, no wonder we get sick, because competition is happening at levels that should be prohibited, especially when you're talking about lives. And when our children, for example, do a recital, I'm not going to post on every single social media, but to my closest friends, I will potentially show, maybe, or share, believing that they care. But not as like, oh yeah, they are the next Beethoven. Just saying, see, they're growing. You've seen them from the get-go. I think you care. So here they are. But we're not going to show to people who don't even care about us. And they may dream about having a child and think, oh, you see, I don't deserve it. And that's not what we mean. So this new behavior is only going to happen if we boost the discernment. Think, would I like somebody doing this to me, or in front of me, or with me? Because one thing is for sure, the law of action and reaction. Everything we say, do, feel, and think is a force that is emitted and has a reaction. Emmanuel, when he writes the book 2,000 years ago, if you want to feel the Christmas spirit, read his encounter with the Christ. The whole book brings to us that simplicity that the vanity of the Roman Empire could not grasp and try to smash. And he says to us in the preface of the book, we're writing this book to show to you that though 2,000 years have passed, our society is morally still in the same way, morally. Envy, he says, spite, jealousy, hatred, competition, still leading the way. You think Jesus competed with anybody? So if you're competing with anybody, you're far from the Christ consciousness. Far. And it's been 2,000 years. But Vanessa, how am I going to survive? You can survive. Because the world now appreciates kindness. Right? Even in science, as a scientist. I worked for 18 years at the University of Maryland. And the mentor said, don't go there. Don't compete. Don't show off. And I said, but how am I going to do it? That's not how you're going to proceed. And I was there for 18 years. Until the day I said, I'm in Virginia. I have my baby Virginia. I have to be in Virginia. I can no longer be in Baltimore. And I still have the best memories of Baltimore and the University of Maryland. My eternal gratitude. No need to deceive anybody. No need to compete with anybody. And collaboration was the tone. Jesus is the master of collaboration. You want to fish, Peter? Every day, says Humberto de Campos, he would go fishing. You know, fishing is not like pushing a button in a computer. Fishing means preparing early in the morning. Right? You know, fishing.
I'm agreeing with you, but I never fished in my life, so I'm like, yeah.
I did when I was little, but it was just for fun with the family.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what it is to really fish for the sake of your survival. But he describes it was a whole day thing. But why? He's the governor of the planet, for God's sake. Why did he need to go fishing every day? Why did he need to be a carpenter? Homework for us. And we still want the shortcuts. But the fun of life is really cooking from scratch. No, but it's so much easier. Right? Unscrewing the can. Opening the plastic bags. I agree, there are days when we come to the center, but then when you start from scratch, an egg, a pinch of salt, or like the Brazilian brigadeiro, ooh, or the cheese bread, right? And then you eat it. Oh no. You can go to Costco, buy the cheese bread, it doesn't come close. I told them, I taste this, guys. If I sell hours, you're gonna sell many more here. But we understand it's industrial, so of course there's something missing there. And what is it? The vibration, the magnetism.
Love.
Love, of course. When we are there, like, oh, Misa, those who eat it feel joy. Oh my gosh, another one. No, don't eat those many more. Just a little joy for a whole lot of days, right? But that's how it is, right, Paula? When Paula is baking her, I'm not going to give ideas, otherwise people will think about food now more than I gave the least desirables. I won't say about the other ones, Paula, but you know. And then, oh my gosh, it nourishes the soul. And it's true. We're missing that in the gospel according to Spiritism. One of the virtues that is commendable for the Christ consciousness that was modeled by Jesus, simplicity. Simplicity. And as simple as a hug, as simple as a kiss, a caring kiss, as simple as a message saying, believe in yourself because we believe in you. We won't be happy until you're happy, and that's a reality. Only psychopaths can be happy in spite of people's unhappiness. Jesus is not a psychopath. He's the model of empathy. So our goal is to boost our empathy to the point that we will no longer be able to enjoy too much comfort without thinking of those who do not have anything. That's our goal. To boost our empathy, to boost the empathy of our children. Oh, they can't go to Africa. Well, just go to Fraternity Without Borders. Right, Nate? Their daily videos show to them, not to scare them out, but to boost the empathy. Say, look at this view. Right now we're here. And there's this lady who doesn't have a mattress. And she's old like her grandmother. And she's happy that she got a mattress. And you have a 10-item list for Santa. For things that are unneeded. They're going to clutter the house. And you can barely walk on the house without stepping on the little things. Nothing against the toys. But too many toys, knowing that there are children that don't have anything. Can't we just trim it down and channel to donating to the Fraternity Without Borders or any other organization that is helping others or giving directly to the people? I remember once there was a man, he called me and said, Vanessa, I lost my job, I'm sick, my wife is sick, I don't have anything. And I remember somebody whom he didn't get along with and who didn't get along with him. And I said to this person, that guy needs you. Do you think you can, because this person was in a different financial condition, can you donate anything? Because Mentor Joseph said that's a possibility for reconciliation. And the person said no. Sometimes we think of Africa, but there is a person right next to you that needs you and you don't want to help. If God planted us here, He wants us to bloom here. Though be mindful of helping globally. So that's why Joana de Angelis boosting us in this message, the final message, which is correlated to the good left undone. In the Spirit's book by Kardec, as we said last week, all must do good to the best of their abilities, for all will answer for all the evil that has resulted from the good left undone. And every day we go to sleep thinking, what have I missed? Who is going to sleep without receiving the good that was left for me to do? Sometimes we don't realize. And we say, God, please forgive us. Show us the way tomorrow. Or in the middle of the night. Because sometimes there's no tomorrow. That's how suicide happens. And we're not being dramatic, it's just a state of life. People quit their lives overnight when you least expect. And then we ask, who was the closest that didn't do? We're not blaming the people around. We're just saying, was there any good that was left for me to do and I didn't do? So that's why Mentor Joseph always reinforced, parents, be parents. Don't let society parent your children. Renounce the things of the world, but care for that precious life that is godly sent to you and not for society to educate. And that's why teachers daily complain about the kids. And it's getting worse because parents are washing their hands. Right, Rejane? They're washing their hands thinking, oh well, I have to work. And I see disasters happening from drug addiction to our crimes because parents do not fulfill their mission. That's the main good that is being left undone. If you're a parent and you're doing the good job, rest assured you're good. But we need to focus in the family because that's where the problems begin. But Vanessa, I have to pay my mortgage. Well, maybe move to a smaller house and focus more on your children. Simplicity. Smaller house, less bills to be paid. But they're college. And you think, if it's in God's plan, that money that you're saving, when they go to college, maybe need it for something else. That's why Jesus said, do not be worried about tomorrow. Not fulfilling the duties today of love because of the worries of tomorrow is not wise. Hey, Jani.
I'll just add, because I'm on the other side of this. The kids, what they like the most is one, when you are firm with them. And it's the little things, it's not the big things. The big things wow them, but it doesn't last much. They lose, like within, if I give a toy that they really want, or if I let them use the computer, right? Because nowadays it's very common in education to use the computer for, in 45 minutes they're like, I'm bored. And then you just sit and talk to them. Actually, I have students who are like, can I have lunch with you? Because all they want is to come and have lunch and share the experiences with the teacher. That's all they want. It's not about the toys, it's about the presents.
It's about the presents, not the presents. The presents. It's close. Talking about presents, it's not about presents, it's the present. The presents. Thank you, Rajani. We talk to teachers every day and that's what they see. If we could just hold them, hug them. You think they're going to love you more because I remember my grandmother telling us a story when we were little, because we're 4 brothers and I. And when she spent the whole summer with us, she must be an angel. Never complained, never shouted at us. She said, when we were upset because our parents, even over the phone, said, cannot do this, cannot do that. And she said, there is a story of a man. His mother liked him very much, but she didn't know how to say no. So one day, he thought society would do the same. And one day, he was arrested. Because when you think you can dictate the law, you become an outlaw. An outlaw has destiny, prison. And one day his mother was crushed in her heart and came to visit him. And he said, and my grandmother is not a drama queen, but the end of the story seems like it's very dramatic. But she brought a very strong image for us of this mother coming to visit the son in jail and saying how much she loved him. And he says, Mom, come here, come close to me. She thought he was going to kiss her. He actually beat her in the face. And said, I want you to never forget that if you had taught me by saying no, I wouldn't be ending up here. Dramatic, but that story served a purpose for us. We're like, okay, we don't want to go to jail, or we don't want to bite our mom, hurt her in any way. So for us, it's always the good that is left undone, and the good is to put limits. And sometimes in our relationships, it's the saving grace, beyond parents and children. Learning the boundaries between us, amongst ourselves, respecting each other's individuality and ways of being, and knowing that people have their way. That doesn't mean we cannot stay together. We cannot create symbiosis that may turn into parasitism, which is detrimental to us. Like Jesus, he was able to live with the disciples and respect their temporary limitations, and yet living with them, being with them, that's our model. So Joana de Angelis finalizes by giving an invitation. She talks about the famous goodwill, and she brings to us, use your voice to increase fraternity. Do we use it to create conciliation and reconciliation? Work hard on behalf of unhappy souls who lost their way. Use whatever tools you can to help humanity achieve dignity and moral worth. It's when we share with our children, with our students, with our friends, we encourage one another saying, you need to do things that at the end of the day you're going to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love and approve of myself. We don't want them to go to bed feeling awkward. That's why the final thoughts, not only a prayer, but saying, I love and approve of myself in ways that are pleasing to God. We want to go to sleep saying, I will do better tomorrow. Since a kid, boosting their discernment and saying, you want to go to sleep and say, thank you, God, for I was able to control myself, to help others, etc. And not to let loose the animal in me, because that was in the animal kingdom. No longer. One thing the mentors ask us to say is, this Christmas, don't give guns to children. Please don't. Don't give guns, anything that incites violence and aggression, because you go to the stores and you see, especially for boys, it's so common and so cheap to see guns of all sorts. I mean guns, toy guns. Don't do that, because Professor Lipids Barçanufo asks us to boost the sensitivity of the kids and not the reverse. Do not reinforce the animalism in us, because that is blessed and past, but now we should be more ethereal in our will. And that's pretty serious. She doesn't have the answer. Only Jesus has the answer.
So
So that's why Joana de Angelis finalizes asking us to really feel that proposal of the good of the Christ within ourselves and say, let us dare to do the good, she says. On earth, it takes courage to do the good. So let us do the good and spread the spirit of Christmas throughout the next week and the year to come. Okay, friends? Recommendations for Christmas, the books by Emmanuel, good literature to inspire us in these good personal trainers of the soul that are in the books, okay? We're ready for the passes now, shall we? Let us turn off the lights and prepare ourselves.